Hello and welcome back to Live from the Bottom Half. If you're joining us again from our last few shows, welcome back. If you're joining us for the first time, you've missed out on one show, so you have to go back and watch it all and subscribe and do all that fun stuff. Today, what we are talking about is the Vanguard boxes. More widely than that is what we're talking about is list building from a completely new person's perspective. 99% of all players, when they start with an army, will go to the Vanguard box set because it's cheap and it's got stuff in it and you can play with it to a point, which is something we will be discussing. Yeah, we'll come on to the last Vanguard we're going to do today. Is you may know them previously as Tomb Kings.
A long time ago.
I know that was it came over. But we're talking about the Ossiarch Bonereapers. Reapers. I'm just going to disrespect all your armies today, Chase. So we had the Ossiarch Bonereapers. This is again a £5, 770 points, which, as you can imagine, means everything in this box is fantastic and will be around forever. You have Mortizan Soul Reaper, Kavalos Death Riders, 20 Mortek Guards, and one Gothazar Harvester, which is traditionally very strong. Jason, traditionally very strong. What do you want to walk us through the box now as our Ossiarch player?
Yep, okay, so let's go through the box and I'll give you my opinion on it. Soul Reaper is a one-cast wizard. He is a nice... I love the model of him. He is absolutely beautiful model. He has the standard attack profile of most guys, which it's actually decided to break on me, but I'm pretty sure it's 5 attacks, 3 threes, minus 2 for 2, minus 1 for 2.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was standard kind of AOS hero profile, yeah.
But he has the ability to... in the combat phase, he chooses to do a Reaping Strike, which basically, if they have 5 or more models, he adds 2 to the attack profile. So I still feel like he has a use in the army. 110 points, which sounds cheap. He's not the most used person in the board. I absolutely love them. I've actually got 2 of them over on my shelf. I absolutely love the models. Just not really where I would see the army going. Death Riders, complete change. Amazing. Absolutely amazing units. Cavalry units, speedy, 3 wounds apiece, 5 up save, but when you play the army, that's pretty much always a 4 up anyway. Their attack profile is pretty decent. 3 attacks for the rider, 3s, 4s, minus 1 for 1. The horse, not so much. 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, no rend for 1. So, even though, however that sounds, the horse seems to still do more damage for me than the riders, but that shouldn't be the way it goes. It's just that's what it is. They do impact hits on the charge, so roll a number of dice equal to the charge roll. Each 5 is a mortal, and they have a fun command ability now where they can actually use this command and move across models with 3 wounds or less. So effectively, your Mortek Guard, they can actually charge over them into the opponents. They can move over, which is really nice little ability. You'll see them in most lists, the Death Riders. And cool, move on.
Oh, sorry, should we back? Have we lost it?
Oh. Yeah, I can see your desktop.
Oh, there we go. Shouldn't be seeing my desktop there. There goes back. Sorry, guys.
Next slide.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so Mortek Guard. This used to be the staple of every OBR unit. Every army used to at least take 20, 40. I've seen people taking 60 Mortek Guard. They used to be pretty much impossible to stop. 2 attacks a model, 3s, 4s, minus 1 for 1. 6s explode like all OBR into double hits. 1 wound on a 4-up save, and then you can actually now make that ethereal, so it's 4+, not changing. Which is, they are really good still. As a unit, I have no problems with them. their main synergy was the Gothizzar Harvester, which made that unit nigh on impossible to kill. Now, not so much. So, the Harvester, at the end of the combat phase, keyword there, at the end of the combat phase, you pick a unit within 6 inches, roll a dice for each model slain. On a 4+, you heal a wound. Mortec are only 1 wound, so you bring models back to that unit. The reason why I emphasise end of the combat phase, it used to be as the attacks finished, or as the models were slain from the opponent hitting you. So, say Mike charges Vanguard into a unit. They knock out. He knows this game. They knock out. I think it was pretty much an entire unit, wasn't it? And then the Harvester decided, yep, bring them all back straight away. So when he did his second attack, he had to hit that same unit. Nowadays, it's at the end of the combat phase, so if you wipe that unit in the combat phase, you can't bring them back. That unit has to survive to bring the models back. Which doesn't sound like a big change, but it is a real big change for 1 wound models. They're still hard to kill. It's the way you... When I've seen them work recently it's the way you play them a bit. So, in my mind, this box set, in the old rules, it basically gave you everything you needed in the army. Simple as that. New rules, not really. To make an army viable in this, with Mortec and Harvester, you need at least a couple of Harvesters, probably 2 blocks of 30 Mortec. You need to have the wounds, those 30 wounds, the wounds characters there, to survive all of the attacks going into it for the Harvester to bring them back at the end of the turn. Death Riders, 100%, they're going to be in every army you see recently. Speed, power, they can still be brought back easy enough. 100% they'll be there. Soul Reaper, he's cheap, but for the points, you get better options. Like Bone Shaper is only 20, 30 points more. And that heals your models once again. In my mind, I hate to say it, but I wouldn't. If I was starting this army, I wouldn't buy it. Not these days. No.
No.
Come.
So I say this Vanguard box was definitely planned pre-nerf the Harvester. When that happened, it was just like, yeah, that's now worthless, essentially.
If you're looking just to get models, not play it, it is a really nice money-saving box. But if you're looking to play the game, you're basically paying 85 quid for some Death Riders. That's the only part you'd take into a current, sort of like, more meta OBR army. The rest of it, you just leave on the shelf.
Yeah.
We should say we are expecting a points adjustment in the near future, because I think someone done the math, and your average OBR army has a spare 120 points because of how much is needed. And on that, so you decided that you're going to be a coffin guy. You don't want to get the Vanguard box set, but you know you're Death Riders. Where do you start with OBR? Where is the best place to start?
Currently, on Mortis Guard and Catacross. That's basically you build your army around that. So Catacross is the big hero. He's 460 points, I think he is now. He gives a huge 24-inch bubble, +1 to hit, +1 to save for your army. Various other little buffs and debuffs for everything. He also heals 3 units up, 3 wounds, so Mortec Guard could go up if you had them in the army, but I wouldn't, because now you can bring back Immortus Guard. And that's... I expect them to get hit hard in these points changes, but Immortus Guard is where it is. Immortus Guard and Stalkers, I should say, although Immortus Guard, I think, are slightly better. Immortus Guard, with the +1 save bubble, they're on a 2+ save. 5 wounds a model, 3 models in the unit. So 15 wounds on a 2-up save. almost definitely you would reinforce that unit, so you got 30 wounds on a 2-up save. And when you do finally hurt them enough, they get healed or bring back models into it. That's that and some Death Riders. That's going to be most of your points done straight away. You take a Bone Shaper to be a small hero, 140 points, I think he is now, and he heals. If you give him all the right benefits and everything and the right artifacts, he heals 2 units within 6 inches or the same unit twice on various rolls, but 3 wounds or brings back an Immortus Guard on each of those. So lots of recursion in that list, which used to be great for Mortek. Now it's not so much. They've just, I love them. They just killed them a bit.
Yeah.
The whole way you use Mortek, they took down.
And I do think it's a kind of a big misreading of the issues around it. The house that essentially mechanically provided a 4-up ward, but that's not unheard of.
Yeah.
In Age of Sigmar, we can balance elsewhere. Now I know there's additional jank, like get reposition models and stuff like that. But for me, it's like I'm not sure that's the correct nerf. I think points on the Mortek could have been better. But what do you think?
Yeah, I don't. It's like when you're saying like that. I think that ultimately, more in my opinion, because Jason played the OBRs a lot, and it was kind of my bouncing army that I had to play and test against. The Mortek Guard and Harvester as they stood, I found them to be quite devastating, to be honest, in terms of the idea you just couldn't put them down. So I think, to be honest, Games Workshop went too far to the extreme of nerfing them in the way they did. I can't see how they would kind of adjust it so that they don't look undefeatable. There's so many times I would go into Jason's Mortek and he'd just like laugh it off. It's like, oh, well, you did 20 damage. Well, I've saved most. Like, when you say it's like a 4 ward, ultimately it was because he had his normal save, he had his ward save, and then he had a recovery save, which is the 4-up afterwards. So that's 3 saves. And when you're getting
4-up.
Yeah, exactly, 464. So when you're going through that, I mean, you're just kind of like, are you joking? And then, oh, wait a second. Next turn, I get to heal them back up anyway using my recovery with the heroes around them. So, yeah, they definitely kind of went to the extreme in doing that, and they have essentially cut the army by 1/3 in terms of what you would potentially take. In terms of this Vanguard box, completely agree with you though. As of all standards, they are doing everything. It's not what you want to be taking to a tournament unless you just want to go because you like the models. But ultimately, yeah, it's a shame because OBR has potential. It'll be interesting to see what the Battle Scroll brings up when it comes out in the next couple of weeks and everything. But yeah, it's just a shame that it's a box that people won't buy.
Yeah, to that, you are right. It is 3 saves. But for me, moving it to a 5+, there's adjustments you can make in that, not allowing additional, like only the halves that can bring stuff back. But no, this is a theory crafting, like how Games Workshop's balancing the game, which is a little bit different from what we're doing today.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I think what we're getting around here, as we've always said, is that this is probably the weakest of the Vanguards. It's if you're buying this, you could buy it twice and spend £160 on the 2 units of forces you'd actually use. But Immortus and Catacross are the linchpin of it. I think they'll remain the linchpin. I'm not sure what their answer is going to be. I feel Games Workshop will put more scar points up and reduce points elsewhere. Again, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
With that. Any thoughts on on this last Vanguard before we sum up and say goodnight to people?
From my perspective, I'm just like, yeah, just avoid it for now. Like you said, for this Vanguard box, you can spend your money elsewhere in this army separately or on eBay, and you'll probably get a lot more for what you want.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
eBay is the enemy of the Vanguard. Okay, so to bring us full circle to when we started, when we were 2.5 hours younger, 8 Vanguard sets, 5 Slayers. I think we all agree that is the Hearthguard and Heroes. That's what you're building into. There is some kit bashing, easy kit bashing with the Uruk Stone Berserkers to get them. Yeah. So you start those Vanguard boxes, look to that first, and then you get into your heroes and stuff around that. Orc Warcleans, go to eBay. Don't buy this. Go to eBay. There's all there. It's nice and cheap. If you're a fish fonder, so IDK, it's. Am I right in saying this? It's like it's a good box, but if you're going to buy that box, when you buy that box, you're then going to need to start making decisions about the army you're going to want to buy. If you want to go into thralls, it's not like the other boxes, like the Glue Spike Gits, where you can still buy another box and it can all still be useful. If I'm right, IDKs, you do probably need to make that decision before you make your next purchase about what you want that army to look like. And mate, when you're making decisions, when we come back to the Skaven one, the choice you're making, if you want the fun Skaven experience, which I would recommend if you're having fun, buy 2 Vanguard boxes. You'll have a blast. If you're looking to more tournament side, or you're already a tournament player, you will be listening to us anyway. But that's we want to look at the other things that are in that Skaven, and the Vanguard box is something to avoid. It doesn't offer consistency, which you're going to need. For my money, the best box is Slaves of Darkness because of how important those units are, the value for money you get from that, and you use it all the time. Even when you buy new stuff, you're still going to use that stuff. Nothing's going to get replaced. Maybe the Vanguard and the Chaos Knights. You're raving about the Gloom Spike Gits. A lot of options there, a lot of ways to build that. We are missing the spiders, but you can make those decisions as you go. This is a safe box to buy multiple times. But I think we're saying Boeing got bounders, not squid hoppers, if you want to you really want to win thing. And we finish on the high of saying, actually, let's not worry about the bone splitters. Let's squat the Vanguard box, the Ossiarchs first, and try again. Hopefully they get a Dawnbringer box, which will bring more up, or the points will balance out. And so that's what we're looking at for the Vanguards. If you have stuck with us to the end, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. If you're seeing us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and like and comment, and we can go get that Ray Shadow Legends money. That's what YouTube's for. But other than that, I'll leave any final words on it or any overarching thoughts about the Vanguard boxes we've seen today.
From my perspective, no, I think you summed up rather well. Yeah, definitely. I would say from, like you were just saying about the Gits with the hoppers or the Boeing bots, both have their potential. That's all I'm going to say on that one. I have both and I love them. But other than that, though, you summed up really well. All I would say is next week we hear on the rumour mill that potentially the Battle Squad update will be coming out, so do keep an eye on our stream on that one. We'll probably do a very last minute jump in and get that kind of covered off when it happens. So please do join us when we go over those rules. But that's all I need to say.
Anything from you, Jason?
All I was going to say is Vanguards are generally, few armies exceptions, good places to start for armies, but research. Do your research. Like I said, the OBR one looks really good, but if you actually look into it, just don't go there. But things like the Skaven, 2 of those, that makes a really good little army there. It's just a laugh. But do your research. This is what we're here for, to talk through this.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Vanguard is about research. Like, learn the box before you do it. It is okay. Most players have been ruled a cool, but when you're building, that's when you start researching. Because there's a lot of money I'm pretty sure we've all spent on models that we did not need or want or even care for once they were at the end. With that, it's getting late, so we'll say good night. I'll say good night to you two. I'll say good night to anyone who watches that, unless you're watching it during the day, in which case, good morning. In fact, you should be watching this all the time. You just keep this on stream all the time. All the time. No reason not to hear this voice. So, goodbye.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Night. See you later.